Why you must become the villain to become free? What if the reason you feel trapped has nothing to do with your job, your money, or your circumstances? What if trying to be liked by everyone is exactly what's keeping you weak? You say yes when every part of you wants to say no. You explain yourself to people who never even asked. You stay in rooms where you're not respected. Because leaving feels like becoming the bad guy, you call this kindness, but underneath it, you know the truth. You're not being kind, you're being afraid of becoming the villain in someone else's story. Bruce Wayne didn't become Batman because he wanted people to like him. He became Batman knowing most of Gotham would fear him, hunt him, misunderstand him. He chose the mission. Even when the mission meant becoming the villain in the eyes of the very city he was saving. By the end of this video, you'll understand why seeking approval keeps you small, why becoming the villain might be the healthiest decision you ever make, and how to stop living as a character in everyone else's story. Let's begin. The need to be liked is a prison. Human beings are wired for approval. Thousands of years ago, being disliked by your group could get you exiled, and exile could get you killed, so your brain learned a rule: safety equals belonging. That rule kept your ancestors alive. Today it's quietly ruining your life. Someone asks a favor you don't have time for, and you say yes anyway. Someone disrespects you, and you stay quiet to avoid a scene. You have an opinion that goes against the group, so you nod along instead. None of these moments feel dramatic, but add them up over years, and you get a person who has slowly disappeared, shaped entirely by other people's expectations. Bruce Wayne could have lived as the beloved billionaire everyone admired. Instead, he chose a mission that guaranteed he'd be misunderstood by almost everyone around him. Because his identity was never built on being liked, it was built on purpose, and here's the realization most people never reach. The moment your self-worth depends on approval, you've handed the remote control of your life to everyone except yourself. That's not kindness. That's captivity. Stop trying to be the good guy in everyone's story. You cannot make everyone happy. Not because you're not good enough, but because it's mathematically impossible. Every boundary you set will disappoint somebody. Choose your career over your family's expectations. Someone calls you selfish. Choose your peace over a draining friendship. Someone calls you cold. There is no version of your life where everyone approves of every choice. So the real question isn't how do I make everyone happy, it's whose disappointment am I willing to accept? Because you will disappoint someone either way. The only choice is whether you disappoint them or disappoint yourself. Here's how you break that pattern. When someone asks you to do something you don't want to do, stop building a 5-minute explanation. Say, I can't do that. Then stop talking. If they push back, repeat the same sentence, calmly. This single skill, saying less, will change more relationships than any argument ever could. Batman never held a press conference to justify his methods. He let the results speak. The moment you start negotiating your boundaries, they stop being boundaries. But this is where most people make the mistake. They think setting the boundary is the hard part. It isn't. Become comfortable being misunderstood. It's not the boundary that scares you. It's what happens after. The silence, the tension, the look on someone's face when you finally say no. That discomfort is the price of freedom, and almost nobody wants to pay it. Let's be precise about the difference. A boundary is not selfish. Selfish is expecting others to sacrifice for you constantly while giving nothing back. A boundary simply refuses to sacrifice yourself for someone else's comfort. Refusing unnecessary validation is not arrogance. It's no longer needing others to confirm your worth. Emotional independence is not coldness. Coldness refuses to care. Emotional independence cares. Without needing your feelings managed by other people's opinions, here's how to practice this today. When you make a decision and someone reacts badly, don't rush to fix their reaction. Let it exist. Let the silence sit a few seconds longer than feels comfortable. You are not responsible for managing everyone else's emotional response to your boundaries, only for whether your boundary was fair. This is exactly why Batman operates in silence. He was never trying to convince Gotham he was good. He simply continued the mission. Whether they cheered for him or hunted him, most people retreat the moment they're misunderstood. Batman moves forward specifically because he's misunderstood. Stop explaining yourself. Why do people feel the need to explain every decision they make? The answer is uncomfortable. Excessive explanation usually comes from insecurity, not consideration. When you feel secure in a decision, you state it. When you feel insecure, you defend it. Every time you over-explain to someone who is never going to accept any explanation, you hand them control over your emotional state. So how do you know when to explain and when to stay silent? Explain when the relationship is built on mutual respect. Stay silent when the person's goal isn't understanding, it's control. Walk away when the conversation becomes about breaking you down until you agree. Ask yourself, has this person earned a place in the decisions of my life? If the answer is no, your silence is not weakness. Your silence is the boundary. Bruce Wayne never stood in front of cameras defending Batman's actions. He let the press speculate and kept working anyway, because a controlled presence says more than 1,000 explanations ever could. But there's an even deeper problem hiding underneath all of this. Choose your mission over validation. The moment your mission becomes more important than people's opinions of you, you become almost impossible to control. People can only manipulate you through things you're afraid to lose. If you're afraid of being disliked, they'll use disapproval to steer your choices. But once you have something bigger than their opinion, their approval stops being currency. So let's build that. Decide what actually matters to you, not what impresses people. Identify what constantly distracts you from that mission, usually other people's opinions and expectations. Choose 3 non-negotiable standards. For example, I will not abandon my goals to comfort someone else's insecurity. I will not explain decisions to people who haven't earned that right. I will not stay somewhere I'm disrespected out of fear of being alone. Stop seeking permission for reasonable goals. You don't need approval to change careers, outgrow old habits, or post your work. Measure yourself by actions, not applause. Did you show up today? Did you follow your own standard? Bruce Wayne didn't check Gotham's opinion polls before putting on the suit each night. He had already decided what mattered. Once you build a mission that strong, people's opinions start to feel smaller, not because you stopped caring about people, but because you finally started caring about your own direction more, the villain you need to become. You do not need to become cruel, cold, or hurtful to become free. That is not what this philosophy means. The villain you need to become is the villain in the eyes of your old self. The version of you that needed everyone's approval to feel safe, that said yes out of fear, that shrunk to avoid conflict. That old version will see your growth as betrayal, will call your boundaries selfish, your silence cold, your mission arrogant. Because that old version survived by staying small, and now you're proving it didn't have to. This is the villain you must become. Not a villain to the world, a villain to your own weakness. Batman is not the villain of Gotham. He is the villain of corruption's comfort. He is the villain of his own fear. The fear a young boy carried out of an alley the night he lost everything. None of it was built for applause. It was built to destroy the version of himself that once felt powerless. You don't become free when everyone finally understands you. You become free when you no longer need them to. Your training starts today. The next time you feel guilty for saying no, ask, am I protecting a boundary, or am I just afraid of disappointing someone? The next time you catch yourself over-explaining, stop mid-sentence and say, that's my decision. The next time someone reacts badly to your growth, let the discomfort exist without rushing to fix it. Do this consistently, not perfectly, and within weeks, people who only respected your silence will start testing your new boundaries. Let them test. That's a sign you're finally doing it right. The freedom on the other side, the goal was never to become a villain. The goal was to stop living as a prisoner of approval. Sometimes freedom means disappointing people. Sometimes it means saying no without justifying it. Sometimes it means walking away from people who only valued your silence. And sometimes you have to become the villain in someone else's story to finally become the hero of your own. Bruce Wayne never set out to be loved by Gotham. He set out to save it, even if saving it meant becoming the thing they feared. Heroes aren't the people everyone agrees with. Heroes are the people who kept moving, even when agreement never came. If you're done living for everyone's approval, comment, "I choose freedom, not for me, not for the algorithm, for yourself." Because the moment you stop needing everyone to understand you is the moment you finally become free.